Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to give you some tips for cutting my 3D tower card that's a cutting file which is available in my cutting file shop at www.applelover53.co.uk. Select the shop tab and then scroll to the ScanNCut cutting files and you'll find this project. Now there are lots of elements within the cutting file. And one of the elements is the top layer of decorative paper. Now, if you're going to cut this in card, it doesn't really matter. But if you're cutting it in decorative paper and if it's got a pattern that kind of overlaps in areas, like this flower on the end of this branch kind of comes onto the cup. If you've got a random pattern that it doesn't matter which way up your pattern goes, then again, it doesn't matter. But the reason I'm showing you this is because the particular elements that I'm talking about I've grouped ready so that you cut them as a group and they keep the order of your pattern paper, if that makes sense. It will obviously all make sense in a few minutes when I come to assemble the card. So for today's project, I'm using a piece of Starry Sky, which is one of the Stampin' Up! New 2022 to 2024 in colours. And I just happen to be using a piece of 12 by 12. I'm going to use some basic white cardstock as my first matting layer. And I'm using a piece of the designer series paper or pattern paper. If you're new to Stampin' Up, we call our pattern paper designer series paper. And for the majority of the time, it's all double-sided. So this one's just got like a little tiny flower with a sweet sorbet background. But I'm going to be using this side with all the teacups with the flowers and the leaves in. So they're kind of like my basic elements. And now I'm going to take you over to the ScanNCut screen and show you how this cutting file will appear once it's on your screen on your machine. Okay, so I'm over at the machine and I've actually already saved my file into the memory of the machine. But if you're new to the ScanNCut and you have created a file in Canvas Workspace, or you've opened up an SVG that you may have purchased in Canvas Workspace, and then you've saved it and sent it over to your machine wirelessly, this is how you do it. So you would come to retrieve data and you would choose this icon here, which is like the computer or iCloud. So you would choose that option, your file would appear, and then you would choose save and save it into the machine. And then you've got it on your machine every time you want to use it. Now I've already done that. So I'm going to go to save from the machine and I'm going to jump to the last page and find my file. And it's this one here. And I'm going to say OK to put it on the mat. You may be able to see now that there's lots of different elements here on this mat. And obviously I only want to cut certain elements at once. So I want to cut the base section elements from my 12 by 12 piece of Starry Sky. And I know that this one, and these two down here. So anything else at the moment, I don't need. So I'm going to select the elements I don't need. I'm going to say edit, which brings up the trash can. And I'm going to hit trash and say OK. And it's OK to send them to the trash can because I've already saved this file into the memory of the machine. OK. Now another way you can do it, if you've got a group of elements together that you know you're going to delete, like I've got all these over here, you can choose the 3 red boxes. Make sure one of the elements that you're going to be getting rid of is selected. So in my case, this one here. Choose the first box, drag the handles over. So hopefully it will select the elements in this area. Say OK, and they should turn red. Now it's not got these two at the top, but I'm not bothered about that. I can always go back and just delete them again in a minute. So it's got these 3. So I'm going to say OK, send them to the trash and say OK. And then I want to get rid of these 2 elements here. So I've got one selected. So I'm going to do the same thing with the red box. drag the arrows over so it'll hopefully know that it's something in this area that I want to select. Say OK, this time it has selected them both, and I can say delete and OK, because I don't want to cut them in this session. I just want to cut certain elements. So now I'm going to load my machine with my mat, which has got my piece of 12 by 12 starry sky already on it. And I'm going to say OK and do a background scan and send this piece of card through, so that those elements that are on the screen I know are going to cut in the right position on this piece of card. So I'm going to say start. So that's just going to scan my mat with my piece of card. Now this piece of card is quite dark, and obviously I can't see where all my designs are, so I'm going to touch the little wrench icon, and where it says background I'm going to choose the next option, which basically will make the background lighter when I say OK. So now I can see all these elements. Now I can also see that this is very, very close to the edge, so I'm going to go edit. I'm going to choose the 3 red boxes, but this time I'm going to choose the box on the right, and that will automatically choose everything that's on my mat. So now I should be able to click and drag and it will move them all together as a group, even though they're not grouped, if that makes sense, just so that I can position them a little bit better on this piece of card. So now I'm happy with where they are. I'm going to say OK, 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 select and cut, and that's now going to cut and put the fold lines, the dashed fold lines in all these elements for me. So I'm going to say start. Okay, so that's finished cutting. So what you'll have now when you peel your waste away, are 5 pieces of card. So you'll have 1 big piece, you'll have 2 that are this size and 2 that are this size, and that's going to make the basis of the card. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back over to the ScanNCut machine. I'm going to hit the home button, say OK to delete all patterns, and I'm going to go back to retrieve data from the machine because that's where the file was saved. Jump to the last page, bring up the cutting file again with all its elements and say OK to set it on the mat. So I'm going to now cut the pattern paper, and then I'll go back and I'll do the white matting layers off camera, and then I'll come back when I've got everything ready to go. So what I'm going to do now, I'm literally going to select the elements that I've just already cut, go to edit, send them to the trash. So anything that I don't want to cut in this session, I'm going to delete. I don't want any of these, so it's just automatically skipping to another piece for me, so I can get rid of all these. And this is what I want to cut now, and this is the section that I've grouped together, so that if you've got a pattern paper and it's running in a certain direction, when you layer these sections up on your base card, they'll line up together. So I'm just going to put my piece of pattern paper on my mat, and I'm going to say OK and do a background scan and press start. So that's now just scanning in my 6x6 piece of pattern paper, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the screen, and I can see the design and I can see the paper. So I'm just going to select this whole group and just position it on this piece of pattern paper. I'm just going to say edit and zoom in just to make sure that it is all on, and it is. So I'm going to say OK, 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 select and cut and start, and just let that cut. Then once that's done, I'm going to hit the home button, say yes, it's okay to delete all the patterns, then I'm going to go back into the design and choose the elements that I've not cut, which are going to be my white matting layers, cut all them, and then I'll come back. Okay, so that's cut. So I'm going to remove the outside piece and I'm just going to leave all the other pieces on the mat just for a minute, hopefully, just so you can see. So there are the elements now, and I don't know how well you'll see, but the handle for this cup is in this layer, but the cup's in here. And this is what I mean about your pattern flowing. So when these are matted up onto the white layers, there'll still be gaps, but it will make your pattern look more cohesive. If you've got a piece of pattern paper that doesn't have any direction on it, then it doesn't really matter about cutting them in this order, but I've done it specifically, grouped these sections together so that if you are using a directional paper, then it will cut out for you. I'm just going to take these off one by one and I'm just going to put them on the side of my desk in this order, because obviously this is the order that I'm going to need to mat them up and stick them on the front of the base card. So all I'm going to do now is put a piece of white cardstock on this mat, and I'm just going to go and cut now the white matting layer elements, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to assemble all the bits and pieces for you. Okay, so I've got all the elements cut now. So the first thing I'm going to do is layer up the pattern paper, which I'm still keeping in order, onto the white layers. Okay, so I'm just going to use some Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue for that. So again, I'm going to layer them up and I'm going to put them on one side, keeping them in the right order. So there's one, and I'm just centralising them as best I can on this paper. So you can see, like, when they go together or when they're next to each other, that's the handle for that cup. I know, you know, there's a gap in between, but it just keeps your pattern flowing nicely if you've got, as I say, a pattern that's got a direction. I know I keep saying that, but I don't know whether I'm kind of, you know, making it very clear. So I've designed these layers to have about 1/8 of an inch distance between each of them, so just be careful when you're lining them up. You know, I usually use about 1/4 of an inch, but I thought for this particular design 1/8 of an inch might look better. So they're my layers for my panel. So I'm just going to put them on one side. Like I said before, you've got 5 pieces and it's probably not going to be very easy to tell, but they're all scored the same. So you've basically got 4-inch panels and then 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch is the glue tab, and that's the same on them all. So I'm going to get my bone folder and I'm going to start folding and burnishing on the fold lines that the ScanNCut has put in the design for me. Okay, so that's the first one. That's panel number 2. Number 3, and then this is 4 and 5. So I'm just doing exactly the same. And a bone folder really is a good tool for a card maker. It just helps you burnish any of your fold lines or your score lines to make your project look that little bit more professional. So there's those. So basically what you're going to do now, you're going to do exactly the same with all 5 panels. You're going to apply some adhesive on the 1/2 inch section and fasten that to the opposite end. So I'm going to use wet glue, and I'm just going to bring in my silicone mat. And the easiest way to do this is to fold your panel in on your first inch. So you've got your 1/2 inch section here, and then fold that over and just hold it in place, or burnish it with your bone folder until it grabs. And that's going to make your first cube, and just going to do exactly the same on all the others. You could use red line tape. If you use Stampin' Up products, you could use Stampin' Seal Plus. That will probably hold it. With 3D projects, I tend to use wet glue. I think it just, you know, makes it a little bit more secure. So where you've joined it, that's kind of like the back. So I'm just trying to keep all the back sections together. So I'm putting them face down. And I know you probably can't see this very well with this dark card on my dark silicone mat, but it just saves me getting glue all over the mat. I did clean it the other day with a baby wipe to try and scrape off all the random little bits of glue that I've got on it. So that's another one. So I'm just going to put the seam to the back. As you probably know if you followed my channel before, I don't use the dash lines very often, particularly not for card making, but I do occasionally use them for things like this. So again, the seam is at the back. Now you could put your layers on your cardstock before you do this folding, but to be perfectly honest, I probably would put them in the wrong place. So that's why I've done it this way. So now I've got the glue seam here, and that's going face down, and that's the same on them all. And these are going to now glue together like so. And then the layers are going to go across the front. And that's why I wanted to keep my pattern in order. So each one of these is 1 inch top and bottom shorter than its next panel. So this panel is 6 inches high, and these are 4. So you've got like 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. If you want to be super precise, you know, you could line it up on your grid paper or your mat, or do it by eye. But basically what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stick all these together. So I'm going to apply some glue here and stick it to this side. Just kind of try and make sure you get in your corners. So I'm going to pop this on a grid line on my mat, and then I'm going to bring this so it's about 1 inch down, and I'm just going to hold on to that until it grabs and sticks to this middle panel. Again, you know, red line tape or our Stampin' Seal Plus. I mean, our Stampin' Seal is quite a strong adhesive. That might work as well, but Stampin' Seal Plus is extra strong. So once you've got one in place, then you can kind of use that as a visual aid to place your others. So this time I'm going to put the glue on this side. And again, I've got the seam, so it's at the back here, because that's how I had them all lined up on my desk. I'm going to line that one up now, so hopefully it's in line with this one. And again, I'm just going to hold it in place until that wet glue grabs. And then again, your next two go 1 inch down from the top and 1 inch up from the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. So I've got the adhesive on it, and I'm going to position it in place and just hold it until the adhesive grabs. Again, because I've kept them all in order with the seams on the back, I'm going to put the glue on this side. I'm just going to hold on to it again. So that's the basis of the tower card, and it stands like so. Now it folds flat to go in an envelope. So basically you push it all to one side and then just re-burnish it so that you're kind of training it where to go. And when it's flat, its finished size is 6 by 6. 6. So this will go in any regular envelope that fits a 6x6 card. I've actually got an envelope that will fit this, again, in my cutting file shop if you wanted a scan and cut envelope, you know, to go with your project. So like I say, it will fold flat and then it just all pops back up and it stands. So now it's time to layer up the elements. So I'm going to start with the middle one and position that like so. And again, I've made it about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. So I think for this, I'll stick with the wet glue. It might just give me a little bit more wiggle room. Like I say, you could put these on before you start doing all the folding of the card. I would probably put them on the wrong panel. So again, now you can see I've taken the middle one. So I'm going to work outwards. So I'm going to take this panel, which is going on the right hand side, and I'm going to put that in place. And again, you can see a part of the cut design, you know, the pattern kind of follows on. It's probably not as obvious with this pattern, to be honest, but if you had a pattern, you know, that's quite bold and you can clearly see a direction, like you can see here, there's the teacup and there's the rest of it. So that's the only reason I've grouped this particular top layer together. So that's kind of how it all sits. Now obviously you can put a piece of card on the back here to write your message, and I've actually forgot to cut that, so I'm just going to go and cut that and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So if you want to stamp a greeting or anything on here, then do that before you apply it. But this is the base panel that's going to go across this middle section, and that's where you can write your message as well if you want to. So again, I'm just going to position that as best I can, give it a few minutes to grab. And that's your card. As I say, it folds down to go in a 6x6 envelope, it pops back up, it stands, and then it's just a case of decorating it if you want to decorate it. Okay, so I thought I'd just pop back and show you how I've actually decorated it. So I've done it to save some time, so the video is not too long, so I'll just tell you what I've used. So from the stitched circle dies, I used this circle and cut that from basic white cardstock. Then from the Tea Boutique dies, I used the 2 cups and the set of leaves. And for the 2 cups, I'm using this new glimmer or glitter shimmer card, and it comes in all the in colours. Okay, my camera just died there, so I'm not sure how much you saw, but basically I'm using the new shimmer or glimmer in colour cardstock, which comes in a pack of 6x6, and I just chopped a piece off the Starry Sky and a piece off the Parakeet Party to cut the base layer from the Starry Sky of the cup, the leaves from the Parakeet Party, and then I cut the detailed element on the cup in basic white. And then I had a few little leaves and flowers left on my desk from some previous projects that I'd been making recently, and they're actually from the Hues of Happiness suite. There are some flowers in the teacup dies, but because they were on my desk, you can see I've still got some remains here in the top right hand corner of my desk. I just thought I'd use them, so I popped a couple of the leaves in. These are a couple of the stamped flowers from the Hues of Happiness, and this is from the designer series paper, but it kind of all works together. The colours are all nice. These 2 particular flowers have got yellow in the middle, so I've also used the 2022-24 in colour matte dots, and I've put the Sweet Sorbet in the middle of the 2 pink flowers, and I've used the Parakeet Party in the middle of the green. So these are the matte dots. We do have some glossy dots, but not in all the in colours, but these are the matte dots that go with the, you know, in colour range of products. And then I put some dimensionals, a couple of dimensionals onto just the top and bottom centre of this die cut, and just stuck that onto this middle panel. And again, as I say, it folds flat to go in a 6x6 envelope, then it pops open and it stands. You've got your place to stamp or write your greeting on the back. So I just thought I'd come back and show you, but I will take a close-up photograph of it and pop it in the thumbnail at the end of the video, and it will also be on my blog. So that's the project. So thanks for now, and I'll see you in the next one.